tough week for the tribe and for all the natural resources that are out there, especially right here. Of course, going through the fire, the evacuations, and everything we went through in that point. But in the meantime, as we were following up with that, of course, the spill that took place last week. So traveled over to Albuquerque 2 days ago in order to gather more information. And that's really what this is right now. It's an information gathering session. But I want to make sure that we pass on the best and most accurate information that we possibly can. Of course, as all of us, we all know what this means to us. We know what the effects of our water is. We know how sacred our water is to us. Water is life is what we're told. Our land is no good without our water is what we're told. So we want to make sure that we do everything to ensure and to protect our water. So I'm going to go ahead and let Victor come in. All right, Victor. Come on in. So we have seating up here. And so we know those things. Those are the things that we hold true to us as Mojave people. So that's why this is so important to us when we start to talk about our water and our livelihood. The information that I was able to gather over there with the other 10 tribes. 10 tribes that we talked to on the upper and the lower basin. But in those discussions, of course, they have information that EPA has given them, but not everybody trusts that, of course. So they're doing their own testing up there. Youths that are up there, and they're able and they're willing to pass on the information to us, the lower basin tribes. So throughout that conversation, it was really important. I think it was good to have, when that meeting was set up, it was good to have a meeting like that to know that we're not only getting information that's coming from the government or the EPA, we're also able to get other information from the Ute tribes, the Utes that are up there. They're testing, and the Navajo Nation, they're willing to share information also. And so everybody in a collaborative effort, again, not trusting, but getting that information, but also getting our own information together as tribes. All the tribes there at the meeting, we want to all sit down. I know Navajo Nation is kind of taking the lead. It's passing directly through their lands just as it is with the Utes. But all the 10 tribes want to get together and meet with the EPA directly, so there's going to be a signing that we have as the 10 tribes together in order to make sure that that meeting takes place. I want everybody to get a perspective of what we are dealing with when it comes to contamination here within Fort Mojave. Of course, the posts that are coming up, and a big reason why we want to have this meeting is to show what the magnitude of the river is and to show where we are right now. Because I think some people think a big plume is going to be coming down the river tomorrow. That's not the case, okay? Want to show everybody how far this is and what the different lakes are along the river for those of you that don't know. The spill site, of course, came over here by the Silverton area, the Gold King mine. It traveled down, went into the San Juan River, made its way over. Information we have right now is that it's somewhere in the Lake Powell area. Now, again, other information that we received from officials this morning was that there's no visible plume. So if you went over there to go actually see that big orange area or what you've seen in the news and TV, it's not there as it was before. What's happened in a lot of those minerals, again, this is information that we have, those minerals that are in there, they're dropping down to the soil. The soils that are over there, especially up there in the Animas River, and even down there a little bit lower into the San Juan. So a lot of that we have right now is being diluted and falling down into those soils. That's the major impact that nobody's going to know about until in the future. What's happening even if the river looks clear, not going to be clear probably down on the soils and what's happening over there. Because when the rains come, who knows what's going to happen. From what we understand, there's 9 different sites that are being tested along the Colorado from EPA, and they're going to give you an update also. 9 different sites. So we have information of people testing in this area and down in this area. The biggest testing that is taking place right now is right here. That we're concerned about is down at Glen Canyon Dam. That's the first dam that there actually is before it starts traveling further on down the Colorado River. Again, that's Glen Canyon Dam. Right now, initial reports are they don't think they're going to see anything when it comes to the test from this particular spill. But who knows? We don't trust that. We want our own testing. We want to see what's taking place there. Then it goes from Glen Canyon. After Glen Canyon, if, again, they started to pick up traces of all of this, it would move downriver. You still have the Grand Canyon and going through all of this area. And then, of course, it would hit Lake Mead. If, again, you would be able to pick up traces there. The initial reports are, no, we shouldn't be able to pick up traces there. But again, they'll continue to test and be able to get reports. So if anything, it would have Lake Mead. It would be over there. If anybody's been to Lake Mead, you know the magnitude of how big these lakes are, especially Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Then if it went down here, of course we have the lake right here. We have Davis Dam, there's Hoover Dam, and there's Davis Dam. Then finally, the tribe. Again, so it has quite a ways to go if, in fact, it looked like some type of those sediments would make their all the way down there. Again, the biggest testing taking place right here in this area, Glen Canyon Dam, to assure us that it's not going to come down. But for the most part, again, the information we have is that it's right there, but no visible signs of it as of right now. And we'll stand by in all the tribes. This is what's good about being together when it comes to tribes. You know, Navajo Nation is going through quite a bit right now when it comes to their farming. All of their farming, having to shut things down over there and seeing their crops go down. In addition to that, the livestock. So they're just going through a world of hurt right now, and we pray for them, and we'll stand by them in whatever that they want to do in the future. And I know all the other 10 tribes would do the same. And again, wanted to sign up for that meeting with them directly. 5 tribes are meeting. Tribes were up there, the Lower Colorado, Lower Basin tribes, Crit, Kokpa, Kachans, everybody down there. So everybody's doing their own testing. We're going to start doing our own testing also. FMTUA, Randy's going to give an update on that. But all doing our own testing to make sure that our own water quality is where it needs to be. And then next, even in October, we're setting up meetings. This is going to be a long-term effect. Kind of like what happened with PG&E. What we're doing over there with the plume is we're protecting it from having or something happening like this over there in Topak. So we never want something like this to happen near us. So we're already getting ready to meet in October with the other 10 tribes. I'm going to turn it over right now to Colleen. She was on, as we had these multiple instances take place, some of the council members were up there at the casino closing out the fire last night. Others were on the phone listening to the ADEQ PIO officer. That's the Arizona Department of Quality Water. That's the Public Information Officer. So they're releasing information on pretty much on a periodic basis. So I'm going to turn it over to Colleen to go ahead and give that update.
The phone call that I was on yesterday involved actually PIOs or Public Information Officers and other agencies and representatives from DEQ from their respective states. But there's a representative from Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. And what they were trying to do is just trying to collaborate everyone's efforts and share. So everybody's coming together to share information so that if they've developed something that they can pass on to everyone, then they're willing to do that. And everybody's willing to do that. So they're providing all that information on their websites. And I think we're going to provide some website information too if anybody's interested in looking at that themselves. But so that group, or that meeting that I listened to, the teleconference that I was on yesterday, was just sharing of information of what's happening. And they're in the process right now putting together press releases to update citizens on samples collected from the Glen Canyon Dam. And they're going to collect from both the upper and the lower. And those results actually won't be available until Monday. But then, of course, with the water flow, every day there's going to be a change because the sediments are coming down the river. So there was all kinds of comments that were made, but in the end it was everybody's willing to share any information for anybody. And the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, Kirk Maurer, he was the one that was responsible in talking for the Arizona. And he's the one that says that they're doing check-in calls every other day, so everyone is coordinated. So that information is shared with the chairman, and whenever they call those meetings, we will get on call with them. So that's the information on that.
Thank you. And next, I'll bring up Randy to talk about your own water quality that's in your homes. I know some people are afraid of, can I drink my water? Is it okay? Is it safe right now? And so I'll have Randy go ahead and address that question. Randy?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
A little bit louder, okay. Boot camp style. Okay, we received in one of the handouts that was passed out, although it's gray, is this document here. And the bottom part is just generic stuff. The important thing is that the technical data here says that 10 miles downstream of the original spill, it had already diluted 50%, so the contaminant levels had already dropped by 50% by the time it had gone 10 miles. So because of that, when you look, and then the other handout you have is a smaller copy of this. We didn't have time to get, or Craig didn't have time to get the mileages on here, but we already know that we're on the top of Lake Powell. And as the chairman had said, the dilution and the run time will help it. What we're doing on our wells, we have 3 principal well sites at this time. We have the AV, we have 3 wells there. One is active, or one we use. The other 2, we only run one at a time. We have St. George well, and we have the Curcio well, where the big white tank is over here across from all of the tribal facilities. What we're going to do on twice a week, we're going to take additional samples for lead, copper, and arsenic. Now, there's 2 aspects to why we're doing that. Number 1 is to ensure if there's any change that we know about it, as soon as possible. And number 2, it also establishes a legal baseline. They're not samples that we're doing. We're taking them up to Mojave Lab in Bullhead City, chain of custody, official EPA sampling regimens, so they would become legal documents establishing our water quality, so that if anything did change, we have a position that says, listen, this is what we were doing before, and now you've messed it up, so you need to do any expenses, new plants, new treatment systems, and all that can be treated out, but it's very expensive. So this establishes our water position, if you will, so that we're protected.
All right. Next, I'm going to bring up Christine. Of course, a lot of work with the fire, but moving on to the next one, and wanting to make sure and everybody understand what type of communication is happening on a federal and state level. So,
Good morning. We have actually physically made contact this morning with US EPA Region 9. We have a project officer that works with our GAP project. I had made contact with her, and Chairman Williams has signed a formal notice of consultation asking EPA to share information directly with the Fort Mojave Tribe. That has been forwarded to Laura Everett. She is the Tribal Program Manager for US EPA Region 9. We've had contact with Arizona Department of Health Services. They are monitoring the situation very closely. That's the program that I work with most closely. The Arizona Department...
Could you speak louder?
Sure. EPA, ADHS, the Arizona Department of Health Services, they're monitoring the situation very closely because it is considered a public health issue. The Arizona Department of Emergency Management, I have been in contact with their tribal liaison. I'm currently trying to get in contact with the tribal liaison for the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. Unfortunately, he's been in meetings all morning, as you can probably understand, and he has not gotten back to me yet, but I will have direct contact with him as well, and our office will be monitoring the situation extremely closely.
yeah, especially when it comes to any of the testing that takes place. So want the community to understand and to know. You know, I think you've fortunately and unfortunately been able to see how our community comes together through this past week and what we are capable of and how we can organize any types of events that take place like this. And so we move on to the next one, and we want to make sure that we gather as much information as we can, and that's the frustrating part. You know, when we had the fire, it was direct action. You know, where there was something to do, we had things and places to go and get people from one place to another. But in this instance, you know, it's almost like fighting a ghost right now, because there's nothing direct that we can do right now other than test. You know, and test and test and test. But we are going to be doing something as a council. We talked about it. You know, there's always these situations that can come up. I mean, what if something happened up at Laughlin and we were directly affected? What if there was raw sewage in there? What if something happened that was going to directly affect our farms, affect our water quality, affect our way of life? And so what we're going to be doing is building reservoirs. It's one of the things that the council is basically we're going to be looking at. I talked to BOR earlier on this week, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to build reservoirs, looking at the upper side of the reservation and also on the lower end of the reservation, to ensure that we have water for our people, and we have water for all of our agriculture, and basically water to sustain ourselves, just in case something happens. Just in case something happens. Because in an instance like this, you know, unfortunately, man, just a lot of people are affected up there, like I said, over there in Navajo Nation and other places and other tribes, you know. And so we can take this and we can, again, we have the water, we have the area, we have the space in order to make sure that something like this can happen. And so that's what we're going to really be working on in the future. For fires, more fire breaks. We looked at this place right next to this building. All the weeds that are right there. More fire breaks to prevent from fires. And so we have a lot on our table right now. We want to make sure it all can be done, and we are confident that it can all get done. But we want to assure the membership of the Fort Mojave Indian Tribe that you are protected to the best of our ability, and that we will pass on all of the information that we have up to this point. Don't have anything to hide here. We have these information packets. We'll also be providing websites to our Facebook site. They should be working on it by the time you leave today. There's websites that you can log into. You can go into this for hours and hours and hours and research it as much as you want to. All right? That's what we're continuing to do. Again, this short amount of time, I wanted to basically give you an up-to-date presentation of what information we have currently, and so that you can pass it on to the community so that they know that, hey, it's not coming down here right now and looking in the river. Man, my God, if it would have rained and it would have turned a little bit brown, everybody would have thought that that was the plume probably coming on down. And so we want to make sure that everybody understands where we are. We will have periodic meetings. As more information comes to light, we will continue to make sure that everybody's informed as far as any precautions that we need to take, or if any of the levels begin to rise. Like we said, Randy, FMTUA's testing. We'll have EPA be testing. We'll also be having the other places all the way up the river testing. And the other tribes sharing their information. Remember, we're not just depending upon what the EPA and what the government is giving us. We're also collaborating with the other tribes so that they provide us some information also. And they're all willing to do so. Okay? All right? Any questions? Any questions? Yep, Lauren?
Just a comment, don't want to scare everybody, but just got a call from a tribal member up in Utah, and maybe coincidence, I don't know, but he said he drank the water and he got sick. So somebody had to go up there and pick him up and bring him back home. So it's up there in Utah someplace. So I don't know, like I said, because the area is affected by this contamination. I really don't know. Don't want to scare anybody, but I really don't know what the situation is, you know. So that's kind of my concern, you know, how
Sure.
to affect all the rest of our health and getting into our water wells. And so right now we don't have the best quality of water on the Arizona side. California side is always been great because when I grew up here, I had the water, and of course it came from Rios. And I went to see the dentist one time, he says, boy, your tooth really has a lot of fluoride, it really helps. Now I don't have your teeth, but Back then, they said, where do you come from? I said, Animas, California. He said, well, that water quality down there is really good. So for the California side, you know, the water, you guys, I'm pretty sure the water is pretty good there. But on our side over there, you know, we have not contamination, but the water marks on the hoses and so forth. And they're telling me, they give me a 15-page report of parts per million and all this stuff, and I read it and I say, well, you know, it takes a scientist to read something like that. I don't know exactly what it's saying. It's saying the water quality is good, but then I see the things on the wall. So that's my concern too, you know. The water, if we're coming down here, they're gonna fix our well system, you know. I don't know, that's just the question I have. Some more testing to give to us and let us put it in layman's terms so we can understand it, instead of having questions, what is so many parts per million people this and says water quality, blah, blah, blah. You know? And that's what I don't understand. And I assume everybody gets a letter every 6 months, every year, whatever. But that's my concern too.
No, absolutely. Well, 2 parts of the answer on that one. Over in Utah, yeah, they're definitely facing it a lot different than we have, than we will, because they're directly affected. They were directly in that zone. It was even to a point where during the meeting they had people that were EPA wanting to go onto their own reservation land and test their canals, test their farmland, and test all of those things. So again, it's a different situation, I think, for them, unfortunately. And again, our prayers are with them. On the second part, the council's authorized a well to go over there on the Arizona side to improve the water quality over there. So again, it's just a matter of time before we get that up and running. But it's already been funded in order to improve the water quality on the Arizona side. Vic?
Yeah, down in Death Valley, those mountains, when they were taking the gold out there, they were owned by, sold to Canada, to Mexico. Who owns these mountains?
I don't know over there in the specific area you're talking about, but talking about other areas that are of concern, one of the biggest areas of concern is still in that area. They talk about if you go over there, it looks like honeycomb. You know, there's not just that mine. There's thousands of mines that are in that area, you know, all up and down in those areas. So I think everybody's going to be taking a special interest and a different look at what is actually taking place, you know, over there in those different areas. So, Robert?
I had a question in regards to the fire. They were saying that the salt cedar was pretty volatile, and that was one of the main fuels that helped fuel that fire. When it comes to the brush and the salt cedars and everything like that, that's on our own reservation land. Is there any way that we could team up, possibly we have folk rehab and landscaping, in order to possibly put together a larger workforce, kind of like how we did when we had the McCormick on Hewlett, where a lot of our tribal members went to work for that. Is there any way that we could do that in order to possibly have a workforce to actually go out, clear out these salt cedars and everything like that, so that way it's more preventative and proactive rather than reactive next time that happens?
No, absolutely. That's absolutely, we just, the council just came out of a meeting with the BIA, and they're going to do, looking at projects to repatronize that area that was burned over there. But as we were talking about, they're not going to cover this area behind here, you know, behind the, right here, behind the offices. But in addition to that, we look at these areas. We look over at the Mojave Beach area. Right after that, drove over to the Ranchos area, you know, for those residents that are there. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done, like you're saying, Robert. So it's a good suggestion to collaborate and make sure that we have a proactive approach in order to address all those issues that are out there, because there's a lot of them. You know, after this incident took place, you know, that was the only area that's not protected in the Arizona Village. It's almost a 360 protection because the fire breaks are just the farmlands, pretty much, almost around the whole area. The only one place that could actually happen is over there, I just say politically correct, across from Plantation. Everybody knows what it's called. So, across from Plantation. And so that was the only area right there that we could provide our own fire break, you know, in order to make sure that it doesn't jump. That was the concern, and that's why everybody had to be evacuated. But good suggestion. Yeah. Ron?
You know that I saw on the news, they said that you know that the water's clear, and they were showing
showing pictures of the water's clear, but the rocks in the, you know, the bottom of the rivers there, they were yellow. And, you know, they said it's okay, and, they had a mayor drink the water, right? I don't know if you saw that. But he put, something to clear the water, and he drank the water. You know, you know that, Lake Mead there, you know, that's a big water source, and you know that, Lake Havasu, the water runs to the Salt River Project and then on to California. And so you know, yeah, it's us, but, we need to stop it there. You know what I mean? We don't need it to come into the Lake Mead area. How do we, you know, prevent it from moving? You know, I was thinking build a dam on the river and, or throw some straw in there. But these, you know, these are, you know, just off the top of my head. But we, you know, there's some kind of action that we can do, you know, on the oceans when they have an oil spill. They clean it up. You know, they throw a barrier around it, and I don't know if it's sponges or whatever, but that stuff floats to the top. The oil is, you know, that's the lightest, lighter than water, so they could clean it that way. There has to be a way, you know, that we force the EPA to do something. They're just saying, well, the water's going to purify itself and go down the river. And I noticed that the Navajo Nation was threatening them to put a lawsuit on them. And, you know, money's fine, but, you know, what is really important is the quality of the water. You know, I've always said that, you know, Victor, you know, we looked at different ways. We went to Lake Mead to see how they keep their lake process and how their water is. And, you know, down here we don't have those regulations. And the EPA of Arizona is bought off. You know, I hate to say it, you're gonna go talk to the EPA, they're paid off by politicians. And it's been for years, you know, that's just the way the standard is with politics. And they're not gonna do anything. You know, we need to do something. I know that there's a lot of intelligent people in here. You know, they could think of something. You young people, you need to, you know, find out, experience, find out what that stuff, what can clean that spill. Hey, if I was able, I'd be out there trying to do something. But you know what? It's not my time. My time is already gone. You know, it's up to the young people to stand up and do something for our river before it gets here, not when it's here. You know, monitoring's okay, but that water has to go through the ground to that monitor. We need to be monitoring the river. We need to be monitoring the lake. We need to send runners up the river and monitor up there, you know, before it gets here. By the time it's there, it's too late. You know, it's serious. It's life or death. You know, we faced this before, and you know, Mojave people are strong.
No, thank you, and like we mentioned, we're not trusting what they're gonna give us. We will attend the meetings, but we're not trusting all the information that they've been giving us. We'll be gathering our own information for the future. And if there is a task for if there is something to physically do, we'll definitely do that. All right, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay. There.
I could share something with you guys. There's these three lakes right here, what we're talking about. Lake Mojave, Lake Mead, right here. I go fish these lakes about 3 or 4 times a year. And on this Nevada, on the Arizona side, from Kingman back here, there's Lake Mead, Diamond Barn, all those guys. They're so low right now that they don't have no more launch ramps. The water's so low you can't even launch your boats no more. Diamond Bar is going out of business. There's a bunch of there's a marina and all that. It's all going out of business. Same way down here to Cottonwood. All this is drilled so low that we can't even launch boats no more. It's affecting the other side of the lake. So when they say this is going down here, these lakes are going so low that when this sediment gets to here, there's not going to be that much water to filter it, like they're saying it's going to filter. because the lake goes, that sediment's going on the ground. And then when they open those dams, that sediment's gonna go on the ground and it's gonna go, that's when you open the dam that keeps the water on the bottom. So, like I said, you know, these dams, our water is so low up here. I seen a video yesterday on, this morning, on Lake Mead, that before they built that dam, there was a little city there. I guess 500 Mormons lived there. And then when they built that dam, it was like I think it was 600 feet above. It flooded that whole city because the Bureau of Reclamation bought that town out. And now you can walk around in that whole little city there, can walk there now. Before it was like, they said 6 feet underwater, 600 feet underwater. And if you go look at there, that water level's 10 feet high. That's where it's at. And when we fish there every year, we go back there, it seems like it's getting lower and lower. And we used to be able to launch wherever we could. Now we only have to use one launch ramp, and they had to make it way out there. So the water level is really going low. And like I said, I'm in this, our bass club and all that, we did a study. They already kind of did it because, you know, we fish a lot, we monitor these lakes, and we see what's happening. And that's what our guys came up with the conclusion that water, like I said, it sucks on the bottom. And this stuff is flowing. And they said you don't see it no more, it's on the bottom. You could see it on the bottom. A friend of mine already went out there and looked, and he was going up there fishing. He goes, you could see it on the bottom. You can't see it on the top no more. It's all dropping. That iron, magnesium, whatever it all is, it's heavy. It's like a material, because it's part of gold. Gold's one of the heaviest rock or whatever, so it's dropping, and that's next to it. That's where it's going to the bottom of the lake. So we've got to really prepare and watch this. I don't know if you guys believe in some, but there was a revelation. I'll talk about that later. But that's, you know, that's where it's at. You know, because we already did studies, and probably next week we're supposed to go fish out there. So, you know, I'll check it out and see what's going on.
And that's the part that we want to make sure that we pass on to the tribe. The most accurate information that we have. A lot of us have a theory of what's taking place, you know, and what's happening. If it's coming down tomorrow or any other day. And so all we can do as a tribe, you hear anything official from us, is that's directly we have actual data that's supporting what is taking place. Okay? Because like I said, we have a lot of fears. And the fear is the fear of the unknown. You know, of not knowing. That's the biggest fear of what's taking place with that with the river. So that's why we depend upon the data and what's taking place and what's actually coming towards us. But Larry's right. You know, the big part of that meeting that we went to with the 10 tribes was talking about the water shortage. You know, then it ended up being a water shortage and quality meeting. So there's two parts of this now that we're dealing with. And so again, it gives us even more reason to have a reservoir or a backup, just in case it goes below that 1075 mark. All right? Janice.
Every state has an arsenic level requirement. So how much higher is that arsenic level in Utah from the contamination?
Oh, I have we could share some of the tables with you.
I just want to get an idea of how.
Who was it? Lawrence mentioned, it's a big table. Has a lot of numbers on it. And so we can pass that on to you to see what the actual level is right now. I don't have it off the top of my head. What did you have to say, Robert? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, speaking of the water shortage, what is our tribe doing as far as, other than building reservoirs, because that's reactive and stuff, what is our tribe doing as far as pressing litigation to cities like Las Vegas to stop expanding? I mean, they're doing it in a negligent fashion to say, oh yeah, come to our city because we can just keep building and building and building, and they're draining Lake Mead. They've already built that pipeline that's under Lake Mead to go and suck it dry pretty much. What are we doing as not only one of the tribes, but how are we partnering with the other tribes down the river to say, you know what, Las Vegas, you need to stop?
Protecting what we have right now. That's the answer to the question. Protecting what we have right now, and because if, in fact, we go and it was mentioned a little while ago before we came into this meeting, if we go blast how much water we have going down or how much water that's all around, that can be used against us. So what we do is we protect, And then, that's where the 5 tribes getting together, so that there is that time, and like you're mentioning, that time is gonna come. We're preparing for that litigation. Somebody, at some time, in day, shape, form, is gonna come after that water. So we're preparing right now, making sure, through litigation and through other things, that we're as prepared as possible. So it's a good question, because again, it's coming someday. Angie?
Getting back to the fires, I just want to mention that, you know, you guys did a good job in handling and everything like that. We had comments, two good comments. But one thing I want to mention is maybe the tribe should think about putting a road back there by Spirit Mountain so it would be easier. If they close plantation, you know, we're going to be stuck there. We're not going to be able to get out. So if there's a back road built back there, maybe it would help the tribe to evacuate in a better manner.
Okay. No, it's
I have a question. You know, with the way the fire was handled a couple of days ago, and the thing was, the rumor has it was started by lightning. 2 days earlier there was lightning. There was no lightning at the time of the fire. And this is the thing that I got directly from people. One guy is a medical student doing what he has to do. He said, all the fire people that were working were up in Kingman attending court for the fire chief who had resigned because of something. We don't know. We're still trying to find that out myself. And the thing is, about the water people in the city of Needles, at one time we were a member of that board. You guys remember that? Where are they at now? Disbanded, huh? What are we gonna do? I mean, we can't trust anybody to work with us because they want more money. Not only that, they see a way out for going. And you talk about 3 states that we're involved in. Each one of them has a different set of rules that one has to adhere to. And they'll always have that conflict with them because this is the way of stalling as they move forward in their endeavor, which is trying to get the land and the water. Right now, the biggest issue is Fort Mojave's not using enough water, and we should take advantage of that.
absolutely.
But we're not doing a damn thing about it, and that's what really pisses me off, because I went after the fire to see how bad it was, and it was just mostly thobbies, just the brown stuff. And it was about 4 miles from the old bridge. The old bridge takes the water into the Pintel Slough area, which is a reservation. And they say that our dam, our pumps there are on the wrong location. How many surveys have we done in the past about that issue? And nothing's ever been accomplished yet. Because the minute you start to get the upper hand, administration changes. So the people that come in don't know as much, and it's kind of like they're faking each other out. Kind of reminds me of the old Western movies I've seen, you know, CIA, BIA, and all them people are making different rules and not applying it to the tribe. The tribe tries to get involved in it. This is what Hal Davis and them people tried to do years ago. Our families have fought for this. What are we doing about it, you know? That's my biggest problem, is that we could do something, but what, you know? We need people with heads. I was listening to this guy talking about the land over there. They made a museum out of it. They were gonna put the artifacts and stuff like that that's still there underground. Our people made them. And going out to Topak here, they drilled underneath the water. And I have, about maybe metal, not metal, but the rock, how thick that sucker is, you know? But the only problem I had with that was the fact that you get beyond that point out to Lake Havasu, everything that was happening up here with the gold mines, 1 week after they put that chemical in the ground, it showed up in Lake Havasu. Those are the things that, I know, and I think about it and I go, who do I talk to? Does it make any sense? Because to say And the same issue, if water flows freely, the churning and the mixing of it will slowly lose its potential, you know, whatever they had. But they also got to remember when we put the dams up, not we, but they did. They stopped all the clay, that stuff that we used when we got hurt, and rubbed it on their bodies that were, this is my time period, you know? You guys don't know nothing about it, you just heard about it. They did it. Some of the women used to dye their hair with some of that clay stuff. Some of the women used it for other things, and it was a healing thing. And I always look at the Grand Canyon as an Indian saying, this is our pot in which all chemicals from all over, after rain comes, it mixes it, and then it comes downstream to us. And some of us a long time ago would drink that. Today, you go out there and you drink something like that, you get a case of diarrhea, and that's it, you know? It's really crazy, but you know, this is the way it was, Northern, in our time, when we understood it. Colleen, these are the people that know these things, you know, and the thing is, we need to talk to you guys, or you need to talk to us and ask us the question, how we can deal with it. We have some special people there that are smart, but guess what? They'd rather watch TV. Give them credit for some damn thing. I was born here, but I was raised in Parker. I learned to work. I'm not afraid of the sun. If they say I'm black, yeah, I'm out there. That's the reason. I don't want to be at the bottom all the time. I go to the top. But I want you to know this is still ours. Ahamaka Hitchman. Matahai, you Matarauya. Makyo, but Milapi. Share that. This is what we're supposed to be about. We don't see that no more. Thank you.
Thank you. Wesley?
I have a question. All the talks about Arizona Village, California Village, what about them? They're getting water from needles.
Yeah.
Is there anything,
Same.
same thing?
Same thing. It'd be
So
the
you
same.
guys can be in communication with?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In communication with them for the California side also.
Okay. And then, I got one more, as we were talking about a contingency plan, also along with that, you have to think about that we get the water from the river to the fields. The fields are right there along our wells, but we got 9 feet of water until you hit water. I mean, 9 feet of down below. So then, you know, I mean, you see what I mean? This thing can go around in circles, but as far as a contingency plan, have you guys thought about that?
No, those are all things that'll come out when we begin to look at how we're going to start building these things. All those will come into play, you know, and then that's when we'll have the information in order to move forward with those. Okay, okay. Ron?
You mentioned a southern reservoir on the Arizona side. I know you're aware of this, everybody is, but it hasn't gone public and it's been this way for a while, is Golden Shores. They're contaminated with hexavalent chromium-6. And the people there living there, they can't come together to protest it. And they're dying of cancer. They're recorded, you know, it's just the confusion. I don't know if it's the money that's involved or whatever. I went to a couple of their meetings and they just can't come together and agree on one issue. And so that poison is coming. And that is from PG&E, where they have a well, probably about 22 miles, where they were dumping the waste on the other side, on the Arizona side. And this is years ago, but that poison has traveled through the washes and is in the groundwater that is coming from that way. You know, so it's a precaution. You need to check the wells, our wells on the reservation below PG&E. We need to monitor that area. Is it infected? Is it coming to our res? Is it in our groundwater? I know water testing, you have to be specific when you test for a certain, element, you know, you have to test specifically for a certain element in the water. You know, you just can't take it and test it and say, oh, yeah, there's this and that in there. No, you have to test for certain elements specifically. And, I've been, wondering about that for years. I know the flow goes downriver. I also know that, Havasu, what is it, that chainsaw factory, McCullough, they also contribute to that, hexavalent chromium-6 in the river. And I don't know if the government has made them clean up their act, because they're on the Arizona side. If you're on the Arizona side, EPA, hey, here's some money. Here's a big chunk of money. Don't say nothing, you know, and, why hasn't they cleaned the Arizona side? They're cleaning the California side, but what about the Arizona side? And right by the bridge, there's a big spill right there. And, on the Arizona side, they don't mention that.
No, thank you for those comments. I think that's what Janice and their team is, you know, being up to date on the PG&E project and everything, all the wells and everything else that's coming out. I know they're in alternative E right now, you know, and they're looking at different alternatives in order to make sure and to ensure that there's a protection there. And so we don't have something like has taken place already, you know, with the mines and the release of all of that. So that's what's taking place with all of those, and to notify Janice if there's any other concern about wells that are further south of the PG&E project. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Just want to thank everybody for coming out here this afternoon. We wanted to make sure that we showed and we proved that we are on top of this to the best of our ability. We'll be continuing to show and to give information as it comes about. There's some papers as you walk out if you want to research it on your own. All the websites and everything else that we're looking at. Grab one of those sheets. You can log on to those. All right. So again, on behalf of the tribe, thank you.